Mm. Hello, folks. Thank you for joining our info session today. My name's Jenna Phillips-Giles, and I am a recruitment coordinator for the college. Today, we're doing two program highlights, as most of you may know. The first program we'll be talking about is the electrical technician program, and the second will be the new wind turbine technician, which is set to have its first offering this September 2026. First, before we begin, I'm going to do a land acknowledgement. NSCC is located in Mi'kmaq, the unceded territory and traditional homeland of the Mi'kmaq Nation. Our relationship is built on a series of peace and friendship treaties between the Mi'kmaq Nation and the Crown, dating back to 1725. As treaty beneficiaries, we recognize that we are all treaty people. Now I'm going to do an African Nova Scotian recognition. NSCC recognizes the African Nova Scotian as a distinct group who arrived here 400 years ago. From that time on, they have contributed to the infrastructure and economic wealth of the towns and cities they helped to build. Let us learn more about how our respective communities were shaped by the historical contributions of African Nova Scotians to Mi'kmaq. So a little bit of housekeeping for folks who are joining us today on the info session. Everyone should see this square rectangle shape on your screen that you can see on the left-hand side of my screen right now. That is your box that you can ask questions. So throughout the whole info session, if you have a question that you want to know about, please pop it in where it says enter a question and press send. At the end, we're going to have a question section, so I'll read those off and we'll have folks who are joining us today on this info session answer those. If you have a question that's very specific to yourself, maybe it's about your application, or maybe I don't get to your question, sometimes there's a little bit too many questions, please email us at recruitment@nscc.ca and we will help you there. I just like to note that we are broadcasting this info session today on December 15th, 2025. It will be recorded, so if you're someone that's watching this at a later date, please make sure to check out the program pages on nscc.ca for any up-to-date information. So NSCC, Nova Scotia Community College, does have 14 campuses across the whole province. The programs that we're talking about today, so the electrical technician program is in Kingsteck. So Kingsteck is over in Kentville. You can see it on the map right here between Truro and the Annapolis Valley campus. The wind turbine technician program is at the Strait Area campus. So that's over in Cape Breton on the right-hand side of the map here, and that is in Port Hawkesbury. One thing I will note is that the Strait Area campuses have housing. So if you're interested in doing this program, the wind turbine program, there is places to stay there. It has 46 rooms at the facility at the Strait Area campus. And then housing applications usually open in April. So if you're accepted to a program for September, keep an eye out on your emails because applications to stay in housing open then. All right, so I'm pleased to introduce everyone that's joining us today on the info session. First, we have Lori Dauphiny, who is faculty for the electrical technician program. We have Taylor McKay, who is also faculty for the electrical technician program. We have Stephanie Sullivan. So Stephanie is a project coordinator for technology and environment. We have Cody Henley. So Cody is a wind turbine technician for RMS Energy. So he's here to answer some questions about what it's like to be an actual wind turbine technician. And then we also have John Summers. So John Summers is going to be faculty for the wind turbine technician. So welcome everyone. And I think Lori and Taylor are going to start us off with talking a little bit more about the electrical technician program. So I'll leave that to you folks. Thank you.
Okay, next slide. Hi, everybody. I'm Lori. Been with the college for many years. Our program is located, as she said, Kentville, Nova Scotia. We call it the Valley, and about an hour away from Halifax. It's a full-time in-person program. It's a 2-year program. The first year is basically the same as electrical construction and industrial, and the second year is where we hit on the renewables. You need a high school graduation, diploma or equivalent, and also you need, if you're post-grad, work for a permit if you're international students. We have international students accepted most years too.
All right, so an electrical technician, essentially you're going to get a full-rounded education on what it is to be an electrician in the construction and the industrial side of electrical work. We kind of focus on that basic residential, commercial, and that kind of wiring practices in the first year. And then the second year, we focus on industrial motor controls, as well as we focus on wind systems, kind of an intro. And then we focus on solar and smart grid technologies as we develop those programs further. So it kind of meets you at the end of the program. You're kind of set up for where things are today, moving into automation and robotics and that kind of thing, but also just that basic electrical understanding. So it's the strong foundation, lots of shop time, lots of time to practice the hands-on skills, the wiring practice, and then that little bit of intro to wind and intro to solar, to give you those comprehensive skills to get you into today's careers and solar, wind, and construction and that kind of thing. Anything to add there, Lori?
Yeah. Most of our students come in. You go next slide too, Jenna. Most of our students come out and they become registered as an electrical apprentice. Most of our students, male and female, usually end up getting the red seal. So in Canada, it's red seal license. So mandatory. We're one of the compulsory certified trades where you have to be registered as an apprentice to work and have your hours count. We went 2 years with this program many years ago because our employers wanted us to go 2 years. They wanted to see students come out with more hands-on, more real skill sets. And so that's why we go the 2 years. And the second year is where the fun it's really fun. We see, like Taylor said, the wind. We go wind. We have you up on little roofs in the shop putting solar modules on the roofs. That's where we start going, and that's where our field of study starts. And that's why most people want to stay, is for that renewable piece. We have a mandatory field experience, which we call work experience, at the end of our program. That's in the second year, and it's 175 hours or 5 weeks. We do offer co-ops between year 1 and year 2. Your students are also responsible for your own transportation accommodations. Now, we do not have a housing at this time here. Now it's coming, but it's not here. But we do have a lot of rooms and boards around here, and the student services up front will be able to help you finding rooms to rent. We're pretty close to residential area, and a lot of people rent out rooms in the basements, and there's quite a few apartments here, Kent Fields, etc.
So safety is a big focus of the program. So we try to instill them core values in you. So when you go to the field, you're not only a safe worker for yourself, but the possible employers in the future will see that as an added benefit coming out of our program. Some employers require criminal record checks and things like that, but not all programs require that. The program emphasis on industry safety and includes safety awareness training to prepare you for work. All PPE, fall arrest training is provided, and all PPE training is provided. You need to provide your own PPE, but you'll basically come out with that good sense of safety, and you'll be able to bring that to the field when you leave the program.
Yeah, we introduce a lockout tagout program where we introduce confined space, hazard ID, and Taylor and I both certify you for fall arrest for a 3-year certificate. There are, so far, I'll get a little bit off the topic here a little quickly. So far around here, we find there's good opportunities for employment. Wages vary, of course, but that will probably come up in the question and answer period. As Taylor stated earlier, we do some theory, but we back our theory up in shop, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in question and answer period. But if you have any questions, by all means, put them in, and we'll answer the best we can.
Okay.
All right, my turn. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Just want to talk about our brand new wind turbine technician program. We're really excited to be having the first wind tech program in Nova Scotia. It's going to be a one-year program, full-time in person, at our Strait area campus in Port Hawkesbury. High school graduation diploma or equivalent for admission requirements, and international students, post-grad work permit. Just want to tell you a little bit why NSCC decided to pursue. Why did we start a wind technician program? Well, you probably heard in the news, the government, federal government, wind is going to be huge here in Nova Scotia and all of the Maritimes. You can flip the slide actually, Jenna. We're trying to keep up with the labor market demand to help Nova Scotia move towards net zero by getting into the renewable sector. So we have been researching probably for 2.5 years for this program. It is a rapidly growing field, and we do have 3 wind techs on that, can talk about that. It's across Canada, but it's really going to ramp up in Nova Scotia. We do have a significant amount of interest of companies working with us and already talking about, getting hands-on graduates. It's an exciting new field. I think you've seen a lot of the wind turbines around in all kinds of sizes. This program is really going to give you kind of a foundation to work everything. Majority is electrical, mechanical, and hydraulics. Those are kind of the main skill sets that you're going to get a really sound foundation with at this program. We also do one other thing, and I don't know if you have one more slide or not, but our wind turbine technician program and all of our programs, safety is actually the absolute most important thing. And as you know, working at a very, very high height, there's so many different types of safety, such as, confined spaces. Are you afraid of heights? It's a very physical, industrial atmosphere. Working in weather in all kinds of weather, you'll be outside, it'll be loud. So part of this today is really to get you to understand and research like what this career looks like when you get out. Another really exciting thing about this is that NSCC has invested, we're actually setting up our own official GWO safety training center at the Strait area campus. So what that means is safety in the wind industry is extremely high. So the GWO has a certification that's a very, very high standard in which most wind techs aim to get or get trained on. And we will be providing that training through a brand new facility throughout the program. So not only will you graduate with your 1-year certificate, you're also going to get your GWO training certificate, which is very important in industry. And we have a couple of techs that can talk about that, but we're one of the few colleges in Canada that actually will have their own center in the college. So we're really excited about that. Also, Lori had talked about the work experience. Like all of our programs at NSCC, you have 5 weeks. And I think in the wind one, we will be kind of working with you to set up those first wind experience, your co-op or work experience, because there's a lot of wind fields across Nova Scotia, wind farms, and you may want to go and have your work experience in the community you grew up in, or a lot of these places are rural Nova Scotia. So we're going to be working with you on that, but just wanted to give you kind of a quick overview. And again, you'll be responsible for your work experience, and all that information and more is on our website. We do have housing, as Jenna said, so that's a great thing about Port Hawkesbury, because we know that housing is an issue in Nova Scotia. This is an important slide. Confined spaces, working at heights, rescue techniques, hoisting, rigging, electrical, mechanical safety, they are paramount. And the biggest thing we want to teach you is how to be safe when you leave. And we will do that. We'll also give you a very strong foundation in electricity, electrical equipment, distribution systems and controls that are specific to the wind turbines. There is math involved, obviously, and just to let you know, our courses are going to be listed on our website soon. We're just finishing finalizing them, but there is a trades math that will be taught, and all of them will be listed in a map and should be hopefully by the new year. So please look back to our website for them. I think that's all of my slides, but I wouldn't mind if John and Cody could just pop on. I really just wanted them to give you a little talk about a day in the life, because the biggest and most important thing I think for being here is that you understand that when you graduate, this is the type of environment. We want to make sure you know that before you even apply or make any decisions. So I'm going to hand it over to Cody. Why don't you start? Cody is working in industry and has kindly joined us to talk about his experience in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, of course. You touched on a lot of really good points, and it's a lot of important skills that are required in industry. Safety being one of the bigger ones. Not a day that we work here that we're not, checking over our harnesses, do inspections on our own safety gear and PPE. So it's all really important. Better to never be in a situation that you could be a danger. So we always work with that at the forefront of our day plan. Another thing you mentioned are the different systems. So there's a lot of different systems in all these different towers. Of course, different kinds of towers. It's going to depend on where you work and what you're working on, but hydraulic, mechanical, and electrical, very big three. So there's never a dull moment, because you'll always be kind of figuring something out. You'll find problems that you didn't even know existed, to kind of be able to troubleshoot your way through that. So learning the skills in this program to be able to do basic troubleshooting, even more in-depth troubleshooting is really, really important. So, do you have anything you want to add, John?
I was just going to ask Cody a question. Why, I know troubleshooting, mechanical abilities, why did you decide to take the program where you took it?
I took the electromechanical technician program in Pictou.
Okay.
So it sounds a lot like the electrician, industrial electrician program, maybe a little bit more into the millwright side of things. Has not been applied to my current job, but the troubleshooting aspect of it is it's almost like puzzle solving. So it's like I said, you never really get bored doing it, but it's really, when you do figure out you'll solve the problem, I find it's very fulfilling, and you kind of go away, walking away at the end of the day with that bit of satisfaction that you fix the problem or whatever it might be.
Great. John is our brand new faculty. Hasn't even joined us yet. He'll be starting in January, but kindly called from Ontario to join in. And John, do you want to just give a little talk about your experience in wind?
Yeah, for sure. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm Jonathan Summers. I'll be teaching the wind program at the campus there. I have 10 years of experience in wind, 7 as a technician, 3 as a manager. And just exactly like Cody is saying, like, troubleshooting, safety is paramount. The certification you'll walk away with, the GWO, is extremely impressive. I'm speaking as a manager right now. I see that on someone's resume coming out straight out of school. It's an amazing cert to have, and it really teaches you the working at heights, the rescue portion of it. I've been GWO certified for 10 years, and it's honestly very fun as well, doing mock rescues, stuff like that. And then of course the troubleshooting, the basic hands-on mechanical, hydraulic, electrical, that's still very fun to me as well. And like Cody said, putting a puzzle together, and when you get that puzzle complete, it's very rewarding. I would use that word in the wind industry a lot.
Yeah.
Going to the turbine that's down, getting it running, like there's no better feeling.
One thing I thought I'd add, as an employer or people that have like trained new employees and whatnot, we've hired from the Holland College Wind Tech program, which is seemingly pretty similar to this one. And compared to like some of the electrical technicians that we've hired from other programs and stuff, it's almost night and day with just the hands-on training, like knowing how to use rigging, all your safety gear. It's like you can kind of skip over all of that. It's a really big win. It saves you quite a bit of time. Just you can get them into the towers a lot faster, getting into work, fun stuff.
Yeah. What I forgot to mention also, these programs are hands-on, both of them. We're going to have the GWO lab and the Wind Tech lab right side by side. So you're going to be in and out of it, and that's your classroom. You'll have the theory parts, but it's really hands-on learning at the college, particularly in these two programs. One other thing I just want to add, I didn't really talk about, lifting and being in a very small tower. You're going to work near the top. You really do have to carry things and it's physical. Do you just want to talk, Cody, or anyone about John? Like, it's physically demanding.
Yeah, it is physically demanding. I know here where I work, we put in every effort we can to, use chain come-alongs or pull-alls or something to make the job easier. And sometimes that's part of the puzzle that we're talking about. It's like, well, how do you get this, this couple ton piece out of here and down to the ground to get the new one up? It's like, so there's definitely a physical aspect, but you do have to learn how to work around kind of your own physical limitations. Everybody has a different way of doing that. So depending on where you work, I'm sure you get into different situations. But, yeah, it's part of the puzzle.
I want to touch base a little bit on math. Stephanie, you mentioned math skills, and just got a little bit off script here a little bit. We have a lot of students that come in and former students and present. They come in and are concerned with their math abilities, but you got to remember, our math is hands-on math. So we hear a lot of people saying that they can't do math. Our math is hands-on. When you come in here, we actually show you formulas, we do it, then you'll actually go to the shop and find a volt, see an amp, see a resistance. You'll do that. So that's hands-on. That's not solving for X, Y, Z. You're solving for an amp, you're solving for a volt. So the math requirement, things like that, come to us. We've had our average age, I don't know what it is now, but I've seen as people as low as 17, and as high as 50 in my class before. And if you come, you do your part and try your best, usually we can get you through it.
I've always felt that the math portion in my program, an EMT program, it was more about the problem solving part of it in my mind. Like, it's less about being able to find X and find Y, and more about
exactly.
Go through step
and
eight.
We're actually designing that math course right now, and it's called Trades Math. Trades Math is unique. It takes little bits of whatever we need to teach you to be successful. So yeah, please don't let math hold you back, or science. If you're interested in this, you're mechanically minded in either of these, check it out and do some research. It's exciting. There's exciting things going to happen in this province in these programs. Well, Jenna, unless you guys have anything else, maybe.
I have to go back on our technician program just a little bit. We followed script on the way doing that. So this time we're going to go a little bit off script. Basically, like I said, the first year is all 1 year. First year of the electrical construction industrial. The second year is renewable. If you're interested, what we want to see as a first day a student, we want to see you just come as you are. we will get your tools. We'll take you out and we'll figure out what kind of tools to buy. We have wholesalers that you go to. We're not involved with, but they go to, they give you a great price on it. Don't buy secondhand books. Come see us. We'll talk to you. And the big thing about it, and Stephanie, I'm not sure if the WIN program is going to be able to do it yet, but we do a thing called test drives. We want you to come in. If you're close and you want to take a day and come in and shadow a student and live a day in the life of a student, come on in any day and do a test drive, and we'll talk a little bit about that with emails in a bit here.
Yes,
Yeah.
good point. And Lori, before we go, I do have a couple things that I think we should touch on before that potential students would have. Can we talk about the types of jobs around Nova Scotia? Taylor, anybody, Cody, John, like, I know in WIN, my research, some you're traveling. And if you're young and look to travel, I know there's companies that you can do that. And then there's also rural Nova Scotia or wind farms in Nova Scotia where you could potentially stay in your home community. Does anyone just want to talk about the different types of employment graduates could be looking at when they leave?
I can comment on wind specifically. Yes, as most of us know, there's quite a few projects either going up as we speak or planned to go up in the next couple of years. Some of those projects are amounting to 300 megawatts or something. So there's going to be 50 or so windmills on one site. In that case, I can only imagine they're going to have a dedicated team in Nova Scotia near the site. And for some of the smaller sites, they might contract those out to Vestas or one of the OM contracts. And if you decide to go work with one of them, Vestas or Nordex or Intercon, you definitely have some potential for travel. They might send you wherever they're putting up a new site, or they might keep you around. But there's lots of opportunities kind of in the bigger global country kind of side of things, but there's going to be lots of local shop cropping up all over the place too that are going to need dedicated local people. You're right.
That's great. John, talk about like a room to grow. Now you went from a wind tech to in the management side. What kind of opportunities would there be for a wind tech potentially?
Yeah, there's a ton of opportunities. You know, whether you get in the construction side, building new farms, or doing service and troubleshooting at, you know, some of the pre-existing farms. And then normally when you get into a company, you start out fresh. There are levels to eventually become, you know, a lead technician or a manager. I know a lot of the companies have a, you know, a level system where you come in as a level 1 and then you work your way within a few years, however long it takes you, to level 5 and then a lead tech. So there is a lot of growth in that regards, and then you can kind of go out to the different, you know, avenues within the company and try to like specialize in certain things, and, you know, maybe be site support, like a special technical advisor. Yeah, a lot of these big companies have a lot of different paths a technician can go.
Yeah, there's a lot of specialized areas, so people kind of seem to find their one special area, and then you kind of stick with it.
Well, and the great thing is we have two young people, Taylor and John, that are faculty at NSCC, and there is a lot. This is a great example.
For our technicians, Taylor and I can touch base on that a little bit. Our technicians, they go, like I said earlier, they start off to be a first-year electrical apprentice. We have students all over the country, from Kempful, Cape Breton to Edmonton. We have students that are electrical contractors now. I've been here 19 years. This is my 19th year, almost 20. We have students that are contractors now, that own their own business now. We have students in manufacturing plants now. I won't mention some of the names, but they're all over the province and in manufacturing plants. And we have some students doing just being the contractor, if you may. Staying in the contractor business, running small jobs, big jobs, and continue their education, because it's a lifelong journey. It's not just a 2 years. No, you're always going to be learning any trade. You're always going to be learning.
Yeah, and one thing on the wind tech, just to say, the end of March, I am trying to prepare a test drive. And what we're going to do is invite you to the Street Area campus for a few hours. I'm looking maybe at a Saturday. Get you in, see the GWO equipment, talk to the staff, try on the equipment, just to get a sense of what it looks like. And we may have time to visit one turbine and just to have a sense of, to see it. Not many people get the opportunity to actually go up and see the size of it. It's very, it's amazing. So NSCC, if you're on this list at all, we can send that out when we have the, it'll probably be in January when we send the invitations out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. I just have a few things to talk about in terms of like tuition and stuff like that, but then we'll get into the questions. We do have some questions here, so I'll bring you right back for that. So I'll go a little bit. Okay, so for a domestic student for both of these programs, it would be $3,620 a year. So the technical or the electrical technician program is 2. So just keep that in mind that that would be 2 times 2 from that for that. If you wanted to see more of a detailed list of extra fees and maybe like the supplies and things that you need for each program, you can go right on our website, so nscc.ca/program fees, and look up whatever program you're looking for. I like to frame it as a budgeting tool for folks because sometimes you might not need everything on that list, but it is nice to have an idea of what types of expenses you'll have for school. For international students, it is currently $12,860 a year. Again, the technician program is the electrical technician program is 2 years. You can also look at the program fees. If you have any questions about the fees or tuition or any of those things, please email us at recruitment@nscc.ca. We can chat to you more about that. Another thing we do have at NSCC is lots of over $5 million in scholarships, bursaries, and awards. So once you are an accepted student, our student awards open in the spring. So usually in April, our award would open. So then you can go on our award portal, do one application, and it will match you with all of those potential awards and bursaries and scholarships. And as you can see, there's lots of criteria. So they don't just look at your marks in high school, they will look at career interest, financial need, academic standing, but also a bunch of other things. So definitely do that. I always encourage folks to do that because there's so much money to give out. Okay, folks, so let's get into it. We do have some questions, but one thing I am going to say is, I know Lori mentioned it, but if you are interested in coming to one of our campuses to learn more about one of these programs, maybe tour around the campus, please email him. He has volunteered to kind of keep in touch with those folks so we can set something up for you if you are interested in looking at one of our workshops or campuses. And then if you have any questions surrounding anything else in terms of recruitment, please email us at recruitment@nscc.ca, and one of our recruitment coordinators like myself will get back to you. So let's see what we have for questions. So there are some questions around the wait list for these programs because they're both currently waitlisted. So folks are asking, like, how long, if they were to apply right now, would they be looking at to get accepted? Does anyone have any input for that, or would you like me to take that one? Or
every year, I'll have a little bit, and every year because I do the first term, so I see the new students first. Every year I have people in my seats that were on the wait list. We have no idea how many's on the wait list. We just know there's a wait list.
Yeah.
NSCC has strict dates. They apply and they add, and if you don't pay by then, if you're not have your paperwork in by then, they move on. They go to the next person. So what we usually say is always put your name on the wait list. Get your name going. Get your application in. You'll never know. Sometimes you'll be in. Sometimes you may not. That's just the luck of the draw. I tell students at open house to start applying in grade 11. For our program, grade 11, grade 10, you want to start coming in and putting your application in. That's what we usually tell them in this area.
I'll just speak on the wind. We do have a wait list. I think the date for having your confirmation fee in was last week, and a lot of people dropped off because they didn't confirm. So either they've moved on to another choice and didn't tell us. So we don't have control of that, but the wait list will move, or not the list. Those people have been removed if you didn't pay your fee. So if someone maybe wasn't keeping track on their email and missed it, they will then go to the next person. So in the next month, there's going to be a lot of movement and activity for people that have applied to the WIND program. Keep on it. You know, please email Lori or myself. We could talk to you if you have any specific questions. But yeah, you know, a lot of people do leave on that have applied, and they do leave for whatever reasons. A lot can happen if they applied a year ago to the time we're accepting people in. So college, that's the way it works in educational systems. But please, if you're interested, I would really suggest you contact us and maybe come and visit and get a sense, because we really want people that want to be in this industry to be in those seats. So
both great inputs. I will just mention a few things. So like Lori said, you can apply the first day of your grade 11. So if you are someone with grade 11 and you're super keen to do one of these programs, definitely apply then. And I always do tell folks our waitlists do move faster than you might think. You can be accepted up until the second week of September. So if folks kind of decide they didn't like the program, they didn't end up coming, there may be seats available for you, and you don't have to reapply. So if you apply one time, you're on that wait list until you're accepted. If you're somehow accepted before you're ready to do one of these programs, you can defer a year. So even if you apply now, you're like, I don't want to go for September 2026. If you're accepted then, defer it and you can go 2027 or whenever the next cohort is offered. So yeah, again, if you have any more questions about waitlist, specifically how long it is, email us and we can kind of chat with you more about that. But thank you both for your input there. Okay, so there's questions about, can you work outside of Nova Scotia with both of these credentials?
yes.
Yeah, I mean, a Red Seal is a Canada-wide apprenticeship to go after. So certainly for the electrical technician program, where you're going to come out indentured as an electrician, and then as wind, you know, I've worked all over North America really with wind, a basic wind turbine college training sent me on quite a bit of traveling around Canada and US and stuff. So definitely can take these credentials on the road with.
Yeah, the GWO certification is recognized across the world too. So
Yeah, it's international, exactly, Cody. So I can't stress enough how, like, it's a really benefit to come out with that.
Amazing. And kind of on that topic, someone's asking if, when you're a wind turbine technician, are you working in one area or are you kind of traveling around a lot?
it really depends on where you get working with. I've been here at this one spot 13 minutes from my house for 6 years. So that's one way you can do it. But I've had plenty of coworkers that have traveled out west, or they've traveled to Quebec or down to the States or whatever it might be. If they're on construction teams, they're just doing construction everywhere. Like I said before, if they're with one of the OM groups, then they'll be traveling to their sites to do maintenances or whatever. So there's a lot of variation. So you really don't know until you start looking into what you want to do, I guess.
Thank you. Is this program, and I believe they mean the wind turbine technician program, is it geared towards construction or the maintenance?
A question for Stephanie, I suppose.
Or John, it's maintenance. So when you're a technician, you're doing maintenance of a wind nacelle.
Yeah, I would say it's geared towards the maintenance activities that take part in the lifetime of a wind turbine, from when it's commissioned. And you know, during that construction process, there's a lot of trades involved. Like there'd be iron workers, and there'd be foundation crews, and there'd be crane crews, and then there would be wind technicians that would fill into roles like commissioning the wind farm, as well as electricians that might do some of the wiring on the substations and that kind of stuff. So really throughout the process of construction, there's a lot going on there. There's a level where when wind technicians come in, and then the duration of that farm, once it's commissioned, you know, the next 20, 25 years, that is a wind technician that's their bread and butter, is that maintenance and O&M world.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, so this person's asking about jobs, and I know you kind of talked a little bit about the work placements and kind of helping support students get those, but after school, are you helping them also get those jobs as well, or what does that look like?
After they graduate, and if they come out of the technician program, it's up to you to find your work experience as a student, and we really have no issues with that. Knock on wood, haven't seen issues. That's not the problem. When you go to work, typically it's your work experience is a working interview, and then when you get employment, you gain employment. Usually, what we do is we'll see you come back to we're lucky enough at King's Tech that your apprenticeship, we have apprenticeship being taught in level 2, level 3, level 4. In our campus. So we'll usually see some of our former students coming back and doing their block training here, or they can do block training in Halifax. We have employers, Taylor and I both, we've been here for a bit now, so we have employers that email us and call us looking for students looking for work. We typically will hand the name out to a bunch of people, and the employer picks and chooses who they want to hire. We try not to get in the hiring process, but we do recommend, and we have our hand and finger on the pulse in this area for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna mentor you and push you in the right direction, but at the end of the day, like you want to build that networking skill, and we want you to build that networking skill yourself of being able to, go shake a hand and put your resume out, and we're gonna point you in any direction we can, but ultimately that going and getting that job is part of the transition out of the program, I would say. We want you to own as much as you can of that.
Yeah. I just wanted to make a comment. I've been working with trades and technology programs at the college for 25 years. In the last 5 to 10 years, my experience, if you go on your work experience and you show up with a good attitude, on time, willing to work, most people stay on with that company for a job. If there's jobs in the field, that's what they want. They want a good worker that has their education and is just willing to learn. I don't think there will be a problem in either of these. And again, we're going to help you with that. I mean, Nova Scotia is a small province. We will help you with, who's the companies and stuff. Your teachers, and remember, these are small classes. You're going to have maybe 20 in your class. You're going to be very close with your instructors. And of course, we mentor you the entire way. It's not like if you go to university and there's 300 people in your class and they don't know who you are. This is very different. You're working very closely day to day, and you will learn a lot. And, our goal is exactly to get you comfortable out there to get an interview and do that on your own. We'll prepare you, but the emphasis will be on you to then.
Yeah, you're with us. You're only with us for 2 short years, and believe me, it goes fast. You're with them for 30 years or more, and they don't expect you to know everything. They really don't expect you to know everything. They want that when we get reference checks for employers looking for somebody, they want to know if you're a team player. They want to know if you show up, you're reliable, if you're willing to learn. The soft skills, what we call it, soft skills. And that's the big thing for us today.
That's for every industry, in my opinion, that's what people need. And if you don't have that, then it's going to be a harder life for getting a job. But, you will also get communication classes here that, we work on the resumes and the interviews and the computers, and we do those skills as well. So we will provide you with a great foundation, and then you can use that.
Yeah, we help with that.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you. Another thing is the question is about a work experience, and is it typically unpaid?
Well, 20 years ago at the college, almost all work experiences, even 15 years, were unpaid. A time when the economy was a little bit not like it is now. Yes, it does not have to be paid. Nobody can guarantee you. That's totally up to your employer. My experience, however, with our technology programs in NSCC, they do get paid. A lot of industry are finding to keep them, they're going to pay them, or even hire them in the summer in between first and second year of Lori and Taylor's program. So that all depends on the company. We have absolutely no influence on that. But just as a general person that works with industry significantly, that trend is changing. And employers need people, so they are tending to pay. Now, there's no guarantees on anything because that has really nothing to do with us. But I will say the trend is now, on my opinion, is to have them paid.
We're 50-50, I'd say, in this area. It depends on the area.
Yeah,
It depends a lot.
it depends.
In the city,
again, there's no
in the city, you're probably going to get paid. In the valley, well, I shouldn't say that. It's depending on the area and the workload.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
you had people out last year. How many paid? Do you remember how many people were paid last year?
I don't know off the top of my head. I think it was, yeah, like a 50-50 or close to it.
Mhm.
yeah. So no guarantees on it, but that's just kind of the trends that have been happening in Nova Scotia.
And while getting paid is amazing, it also is part of your school still. So that's considered still learning. So that's why we don't expect pay.
Right, exactly. It's like a course to graduate.
And
You
it's
have to have
confidence
that.
building too, right? You're out there, whether you're getting paid or not, you're doing the actions, you're on the job, and that's where, when it comes to, are we going to help you get an employer? Well, if you're out there on that work term, you're going to have the confidence to go talk to these employers because you've been on the job now. You know that it's something that's in your wheelhouse.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you know what it is? It's a test drive for the employer to see if you're a fit, and you to see if you're a fit for that company. So it's a win-win. It's part of education, but it really is the most beneficial thing about the college is that we make you go there for 5 weeks, because then you really get a taste of, maybe you don't want to work in residential. Maybe you want to work somewhere else. So I think that's the real design behind our work experience program.
Couldn't have said any better, Stephanie. Most of the time, it's about right fit. We have students that are great academically and okay hands-on. We have people that are great hands-on and challenging in academics. It's all about the fit, and we try to make sure we know these employers enough that we try to make sure you're going to be a good fit with their company. So you're going to feel good about yourself.
Okay. I think that's all the questions we have. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add before we sign off here? Amazing.
If you have no experience, folks, don't worry about it. That's our job. We're here to help you gain that experience. And we see that every day. Well, I don't know. I've never worked with my hands. I've never done this. That's okay. Not knowing is okay. Not asking is not. But come on in. That's part of our gig. That's our work. We have to get you ready.
Yep. And we realize that not everybody grows up this day and age learning to work with tools in your backyard, like in my generation. But that doesn't matter, because we teach you a foundational about hand tools to everything. So yeah, don't let that intimidate you whatsoever. Really find out if your interest is in this field, the troubleshooting, the mechanical, the skills, working outside. That's what you got to kind of soul search and find. And we just, really, these are really 2 exciting programs in Nova Scotia, and we're really happy to be here to promote them today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Again, if you have any questions that you think after the fact, email us at recruitment@nscc.ca. If it's for one of the people here today, I can connect with them to get your question answered. Thank you, everyone, for being on the panel today. Your insight was definitely amazing and very insightful. So have a nice day.
Thanks,
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.